Does the DPI we choose to play on actually have an effect on our accuracy in game? It is this question that I'm going to answer through an experiment that I did that is going to give us an idea of whether or not our DPI actually matters or not. This is particularly interesting because for so many years, PC gamers seem to believe that a lower DPI was more consistent, but actually recently we found out that a higher DPI up to a certain point does reduce your input latency. It'll be interesting to see if a higher DPI actually leads to higher accuracy numbers. And if it wasn't obvious, Halo Infinite's in-game system will allow us to do exactly that. So what exactly is DPI? Well, I'm not going to give you a thorough explanation, but what I will tell you is that even though my DPI will be changing throughout this video as part of the experiment, that doesn't necessarily mean that my sensitivity is changing. I'll be testing different DPI, sure, but I will be changing my in-game sensitivity to compensate, so my effective sensitivity will always remain the same. Your DPI is only one part of the equation when it comes to your actual or effective sensitivity overall. With that, I'll go ahead and hop in game and start this experiment, and you can kind of watch it unfold while I explain to you and kind of get you caught up on how this went down. So first of all, I wanted to do this experiment in an online setting against real people, particularly in the ranked playlist. However, I simply can't do that. There are just so many variables that are going to affect the accuracy that just don't give us consistent data. Playing against different people with different skill sets from game to game, the different maps, picking up different weapons, all of these things are going to contribute to inaccurate readings. Not to mention connection differences from server to server, and I do live in Seattle, so I average about 80 ping from game to game. So instead, I have opted to do the following. Throughout this experiment, I will be testing a total of the 4 most popular DPI: 400, 800, 1600, and 3200. I will play a total of 2 individual free-for-all matches on each DPI. So 2 individual matches on 400 DPI, then 800 DPI, so forth and so on. After each individual match, I will document the accuracy for that game and DPI. This will be helpful later when we collect the averages. On each match, I'll be playing on the same map, the streets, and I will only use the battle rifle. However, melees and grenades are totally fine. Each free-for-all match is going to have a total of 5 bots, all on the Spartan level difficulty. Once again, we'll be testing different DPI, but my actual sensitivity will remain the same, which is 63.50 centimeters per 360. With that giant explanation out of the way, I'll go ahead and share with you what I got. At 400 DPI, I finished with the following. My first match, I finished with a 61.18% accuracy and a 62.16% on my second. At 800 DPI, I finished with the following: 61.32% first match and 58.76% second match. At 1600 DPI, I finished with the following: 67.17% and a 66.66. 3200 DPI, 77.94% and 71.19%. So on screen now are the averages for each DPI, and the results are pretty obvious. But I am surprised. I didn't feel like I was actually performing any better or worse on any one particular DPI. If anything, I actually liked 800 the most out of all of them, even though I performed the worst on 800 DPI. Which brings me to my next point, and that is that I did feel a difference from one to the next, and it's almost like they have their own unique personality. 400 DPI felt very slowed and controlled, which I did appreciate that sense of stability. 800 DPI felt the most balanced out of all of them. 1600 granted me more control in the sense that my cursor felt more sensitive or responsive, whereas 3200 I actually didn't notice a huge difference going from 1600 to 3200. Then again, 3200 most certainly felt the most responsive. However, it's important to recognize and acknowledge the fact that all the differences that I felt were very subtle. But based on this experiment, I have in fact changed my DPI to 3200, knowing that I do perform the best on it. This is where I encourage you to do this experiment on your own. Let me know what DPI you perform the best on. Now, I actually speculate that I did the best on the higher DPI because Halo Infinite is known for having some input latency, so any reduction of that is going to be helpful. By the way, let me know if you want to see more experiments like this one. Perhaps you want to see me test more DPI, you want me to go higher and lower, I can do that. So let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next one.